more, American households need to make around $117,000 a year to afford the typical home. Bankrate just released its yearly housing affordability study, and according to that data, home buyers in 30 states now need a six-figure income to afford a median-priced house in their area. Within the top 10, both Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Today, we're bringing in Bankrate's housing market analyst, Jeff Ostrowsk, to talk about their findings. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
So let's get right into it. Exactly how much do residents in Mass and Rhode Island need to make to afford a median-priced home?
Well, it's more than that $117,000 national norm that you mentioned, just because home prices are so much higher in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So in Massachusetts, it's about $174,000 of income, and in Rhode Island, about $144,000. I will add the caveat that most home buyers are couples, and most of those couples have two incomes. So we're not saying that one person needs to make $174,000, although that certainly would help. But if you've got two people making $80,000 or $90,000 a piece, then they're in the realm of affordability. But it's definitely a much bigger number than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, so speaking of that, I mean, median-priced houses has increased nationwide by 50% since 2020. Why such a drastic jump?
Well, the pandemic really spurred a housing boom. So even before the pandemic, the housing market had rebounded pretty strongly from the Great Recession. Home prices had been going up. Home prices had been outpacing incomes in terms of gains. And there just was a lot of demand for houses, not a whole lot of supply. Then the pandemic came and everything just went crazy.
Yeah, the pandemic really shaked everything up. Now, is there anything that potential home buyers who aren't making that kind of money can do, or are they kind of stuck renting for now?
Well, a couple of pieces of advice that I would give. First off, for our study, we assumed a 20% down payment. Just because we needed to pick a number. And a 20% is a good number if you can afford it, but a lot of people, and especially first-time home buyers, don't have 20% of the home price. So in New England, you're probably going to spend about $600,000 or more on a house. 20% of that, of course, is $120,000. Most first-time buyers don't have that much sitting in the bank. So you don't need 20% down. There's nothing wrong with a 10% down payment, 5% down payment. So don't get too worried about the 20% down payment. You can buy a house with much less money than that. And then the other thing that I would advise to first-time buyers is to look into down payment assistance. Every state in the country has a state housing finance agency, and those subsidies for first-time buyers have gotten more generous in the past few years.
So you might not be as stuck as you think you are. Now, is there a chance that we see costs go down in the Northeast, where things are typically so much more expensive, or should we kind of expect these prices going forward? I know that during the pandemic, everyone was like, this isn't long term, but so far it has been.
Yeah, I would say this housing market has really defied predictions. So I remember back in 2020, there was a strong thought that the entire economy was going to crash and the housing market with it. That didn't happen. Then in 2022 and 23, when the Fed started raising rates to fight inflation, mortgage rates shot up. And for a while, the conventional wisdom was, don't buy a house now, just wait. Mortgage rates are going to shoot up, home prices are going to come down. And that never happened either. So unfortunately for buyers, it's a bad time to buy, but it's probably going to be a worse time a year from now. So I would say the smart move is, if you're ready to buy a house, just do it now.
All right. Well, Jeff, thank you for joining us today to talk about that research. We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot.